I think everybody overlooked this word, which is being used constantly. Go and Google reset, economic reset, global
Mm.
financial reset. Go and see the word reset, not correction.
So yeah, I mean for this crisis, right? So-called crisis is not a very ordinary kind of crisis that we are in. We are actually seeing is a change of the whole like the overall economy thing. You know, I mean the
Yes,
way
and
we do
and,
things.
and its
Yes.
impact on real estate as well.
Yeah, I mean in many industry, may see a face off probably in the long run. Yeah.
I would say this.
Mm,
If everybody were to pay attention to the words that are being used by our government, by WHO, by IMF, by the US, be it
oh, sorry.
President Trump or be it anyone else, anybody who is aware of what is going on and who are reading the news, you must recognize that we are not talking about correction right now. A correction is not a term used by them. In fact, the word used by them today is the word reset. So when you hear the word reset, what do you understand by reset? When you send your iPad, right? When you use your iPad and you want to set it back to factory setting, you reset. You reset your computer, you reset your system, or you reset the economy. The word reset is to bring everything back to square one, back to the beginning, in the beginning. It's not a correction. Maybe in 1997, when the Asian financial crisis hit, that was a correction, or somewhere between a correction and a reset. Maybe somewhere in 2008, that was a correction in the real estate prices and in the economy. Some correction took place, and then they continue printing money. They continue, doing this quantitative easing, which keep printing money so that there is a lot of this liquidity in the market, and people are using it to buy stocks and all that, and they are pushing up the stock market, which gives, in fact, the stock prices gives people a false sense of euphoria right now. I tell you, this is beyond belief, because anybody who is in the market knows that many of these companies actually have a financial impact, serious financial impact due to the pandemic. And right now, if you look at the I remember maybe a week ago, only a week ago, where DVS declared losses in terms of their profit. Yet after declaring one of the major losses, their stock prices went up. So you see, there's this major disconnect. It's not normal, and it should not be that case. So as much as people want to think, oh, this can go on, but I know that it won't, because I hear the word that they use. They use the word reset. So what is a reset? So if you go and study, probably the best case scenario of a reset was after World War II. So after World War II, everything starts from ground zero. So you have a reset, and then you start building up all over again. I'm not saying that, or nor am I suggesting that it will be as drastic as that. I don't know. Okay, but you must remember the word used is reset. It's not correction. Okay, so the economies are going to be reset. There's going to be the World Economic Forum are going to have a meeting, okay, to discuss this whole global reset in 2021. We're not even there yet. So we are working towards a reset. They are working towards a reset. Not me. I'm not working with them on the reset, but I'm preparing for that reset. So I hope everybody understand where I'm coming from, and prepare yourself properly.
Okay. So
And
actually,
not
you have
listen,
mentioned.
not listen to all
All
these
right.
noises on the ground. Yeah, not listening to the noises on the ground,
uh,
who 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 wants to tell their own story.
Correct.
I think everybody overlooked this word, which is
Mm,
being used constantly. Go and Google reset, economic reset, global
mm.
financial reset. Go and see the word reset, not correction.
Yeah, it's not a price correction now of the market. It's a total reset of the economy, totally new, right?
It's
Completely
I would say
from
my generation
zero
and the
lah, from
generation,
zero
right?
lah.
Yeah,
Start from
yeah.
zero
It's
lah.
that's
Okay.
that's the that's the meaning of reset.
Mm. Yeah, so I think this will affect lah, definitely the overall all the industry, everything,
Yep.
even our airline, everything. So in terms when it comes to real estate, because I know that there's a lot of investment, they so called is a when there's a crisis, there's opportunity. So do you think that this crisis will be a opportunity that you will go in to invest? I mean, as an investor, does it really is a good opportunity to
Does it
invest during
uh,
this time?
does it look like a crisis right now? It does. It look like a crisis, but the market is
Mm,
not performing like there is a crisis. That's the strange thing,
yeah,
right? So as much as we
correct.
all know that we can feel the crisis, but we don't really see the numbers like the stock market and all that for the crisis. We can see gold prices coming up. So in some ways, there are some people see some disconnect in the market. We talk about the crisis in the market, but yet if you read the news, you still see some of the influential people, the people in power, saying that the upcoming crisis, so we're not even in a crisis yet. So the numbers doesn't show a crisis,
Mhm.
but they are talking about the upcoming crisis, the crisis that's coming. So obviously, if they say that there's a crisis coming, we are in a crisis, but we are not seeing numbers that are reflecting this crisis. But there's going to be a real, more I would say a what they consider the impending crisis that's coming to be something massive, because it is unheard of. 121,000 people losing their job in a quarter. Why are people ignoring all these numbers? Why are people still out there saying, "Oh, things this there is opportunity in a crisis," when WHO and IMF and all that are still talking about an impending crisis? So sure, there are opportunity in a crisis, but are we there yet? Have we felt it yet? No. The moratoriums and all these special so-called government intervention are technically giving everybody a false impression, that we are in a recovery process, or people are not spending so much money, because their expenses have dropped. But then these expenses are only deferment. A lot of it are deferred expenses, which needs to come back, later on. But how would that impact the real estate market? Especially, let's start with the commercial and commercial market, the industrial markets, and so on and so forth. Now, what will happen to such markets when social distancing, let's say if there's a second wave or third wave kicks in, and this actually in our own eyes, right? Our eyes look at a restaurant today when we go out there, it looks like it's packed, but actually they are still operating 30% or 50% below. Why do we think it's packed? Because they put up about 60% of their tables or 50% of their tables, and their tables are full. So we all have this perception that, oh, okay, the hotels, the restaurants are doing well. But when you speak to the restaurant owners, they can tell you that their business are severely affected. And still, there are restaurants that after the reopening, that eventually decided that it's game over, and closed down. We've read a number of such examples. But let's talk about some of this impact and the domino effect or the snowball effect. The airline industry operating at maybe 5%, 1% or 5% of its capacity or what it used to do, have a massive impact on the cleaning industry, on the food preparation industry. It has a massive impact on all the retail outlets inside all the airports around the world. So imagine our Changi right now. Internally, of course, we have the jewel outside, but internally, you have all these shops right now who are vying for businesses from a 1% of travelers around the world. They might as well close down. And all these F&B outlets. And just think of all our Terminal 1, 2, and 3, okay, and 4, internally, all the shops and all the F&B being affected so severely. How is it going to affect the other businesses that provide services to such shops? So of course, F&B, you've got cleaning services, you've got laundry services. They clean the tablecloth, they clean the towels, they clean all this, and then you have all the different industries that support most of these, like stationaries and selling stationaries to them, and all the other financial services. Everything, one after another. You think about it, right? You think about that's just 4 airports in Singapore, right? But those airports have a lot of F&B outlets and a lot of shops, and all of them are severely affected.
Okay.
And of course, if you go out there, it's the same thing is happening. Even right now, officers have to practice social distancing, and otherwise there will be inspectors who will come around and check the officers, and maybe they'll get fined and penalized. So at the end of the day, I've said this before, if I'm running a business right now, I'll be thinking maybe I should get most of my staff working at home, and after a while people start to get used to this working at home thing. If most of the employers will start to renegotiate with the employees to take a lower pay, right? Because most of the time you have to do rotation and you've got to work from home. Now, what will happen is many of these tenants, because commercial space are mostly rented, so most of these tenants will now go back to the landlord and say, I cannot pay this rent, and it doesn't justify me paying this rent because I only have this number of staff and my operation has been reduced. I have shrunk my operation. So many of these F&B outlets will go back to the landlord and say, hey, can you give me a discount on the rental? And of course, it must be a discount that justifies, okay, that literally justifies their cash flow. And most of these will have to, landlords will have to reduce their rent by 50%, even up to 50% or more. And now going back to the landlord, if this landlord has fully paid for that place, fine, he can do that. And right now we still have some of them still are getting some support from the government in that sense. But what if all this ends? And then what would the landlord do if they still have to pay installment on the on the loan they took for the industrial space, the commercial space, or the office space, the retail space? They will be very badly affected as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay. And of course, when this affects them, it affects the lifestyle, the income of the general. Everybody starts to drop. Okay, assuming it all starts to drop, unless everybody starts to become an online businessman, things may be different. Okay, but otherwise, many of these people's income will drop, and when their income drop, spending, consumer spending all over Singapore will drop, and consumer spending all over Singapore, globally, everywhere, will drop because people are concerned about their livelihood, their cash flow. They know that something is wrong with the business. Their company is trying to balance cash flow. They know that their company is trying to cut back, and because of that, they will cut back on spending, and then this will again directly impact the GDP of the economy, and the economy will shrink further. And then you can't tell me all these things not going to impact real estate.
I mean, definitely. I mean, in the figure of the GDP already show there will be a negative, right? The percentage. Yeah. So, but the thing is that there's still a lot of, activities in the real estate, market.
But
Yeah.
but a lot of these activities are hyped up. And not only that, part of the figures you see are from genuine buyers who want to buy a home. So
mm,
there are two markets. People are buying for investment and buying for home. I can say that the investment market, you should not go in now. Okay,
mm,
but if but for those people who are buying as a home, there is such a thing called pent up demand. So maybe during the first 3 months of COVID, they tahan, January, February, March, and then April, May, June, they tahan. So the numbers drop here, and then suddenly they July comes, and it seems like, whoo, okay, the market is open. Developers have reduced prices. So I think some of this pent up demand say, okay, I'm saving 10% from previous price, which is good enough for me, and then they come in. So you see a effect on the pent up demand on the market. But once this pent up demand clears, you will see that the market will quieten down again.
mm. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So because I think also like in terms of the Singapore, there's also this supply glut. That means the oversupply
Yep.
that is going on.
Uh,
There's a pipeline. So in this case, I mean, for your view lah, I mean, if an investor uh, would want to invest into Singapore, I mean, when there's a supply glut, would there be a so-called in terms of his uh, how he will see about the market for real estate if let's say there's an oversupply in the market?
well, um, personally, I look at the market right now. At least for another 6 months to a year, people won't be allowed to travel much. Okay,
Mm,
and that means that if you look at the people who have left Singapore and gone home, some actually also gave up their job, and some
mm,
lost their job, whatever it may be. And once they got back home, they found that it is too painful and too inconvenient for them to travel back to Singapore, and so on and so forth, right? And then you also find that in a place like Singapore right now, uh, though there may be foreigners here, there is this noise on the ground that says encourage business owner to give the job to the Singaporeans first because they lost their job. So if that's the case, then the foreigners again will eventually have to leave because you have to give the job to the Singaporean first. You are incentivized to do that. So when they leave again, it's going to take a long time before they want to come in again because it's not that straightforward right now traveling. And a lot of people I know, as much as they can, and I'm looking to go back to Malaysia to get my business going, but as much as they can, some may already during this lockdown, be it back in their own country, started some online businesses or started some other things, and they probably may not look at coming back at least for another 6 months to a year. So how many of these landlord can hold on to their units vacant for the next 6 months or maybe even longer? You probably see that there are still some rentals going on in the market, but this I would say are more for people who are moving from one place locally, who are already here, moving from one place and renting another place. That's where the numbers are coming from. So when they move from one apartment to another apartment, that also means they leave another apartment vacant. It's not, you can't tell me that there are thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people flying in, taking out apartments. It's not the case.
mm,
You find that maybe even some of the tenants who are here, who remain here, are now taking a cheaper rental. So they are moving out from one place. You see these activities. They are moving out of one place, and they are taking an opportunity right now to move to another place with lower rent because of the current situation.
okay.